Shalom to the elect of Yasha Allah, you so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indian, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well. And a sincere salutation to all the Ark pushing the truth throughout the four winds of the earth, waking up the hope for the elect. Shalom to the Akwaf who are listening and learning. On my Zaya, coming to another lesson in truth, facts, faith, and edification. And this is another update on more wars and rumors of wars. Hey, sounding like a broken record, man. Okay, every day. But the watchman must keep watch and warn you of new things. Okay? So when you go to Isaiah, I think it's Isaiah and 48. Well, maybe, let me see. It's Isaiah 46 and verse 10. It reads, declaring the end from the beginning and from ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. So the Lord said, again, Isaiah 46 and 10, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient time, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasures. What's the Lord's pleasure? To bring war and judgment, man. Okay, pestilences and plagues, famine, martial law, concentration camps, race riot. Okay, one realm against another, one neighbor against another, man. Okay, these are the judgments of the Lord. Mainly, them intercontinental ballistic missiles to destroy this place. So, you got these nations that's going back and forth with each other, man. Because this is prophecy. Okay? Matthew the 24th chapter. Jeremiah 28 and 8. These are all prophecies, man, that must come to pass. The Lord declared these things from the beginning, man. So, prepare yourself, man. Put on the whole armor of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah, or suffer defeat, man. Point blank, period. This is not a game, man. We are in serious times, man. And you got everything is playing out all together. The RFID microchip getting pushed heavy. Pestilences is playing out. Okay, you got wars and rumors of wars. You actually got wars going on, man. Okay? You got the Lord has these nations drawing to the Middle East, preparing for battle, man. All these nations is ready to go to war, man. Okay, Trump talking about a peace plan. It tell you in 1 Thessalonians and Ezekiel, it ain't gonna be no peace, man. It's finna be war. Now, since I said that, this is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Verse 3. It's a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. Jumping down, verse 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. And we are not in the time of peace, man. There shall be no peace, okay? Going to Matthew chapter 10, and this is the words of Yahweh Shah, man. This is out his own mouth. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. Okay? What do you do with a sword? You destroy, you kill. And this is the words of Yahushua, who you even call Jesus. This is in the red, man. Again, Matthew 10 and 34. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword, man. So we're in the time of prophecy, whether you like it or not. But you better prepare yourself.
Welcome back again, everyone. It's Dina Calmetta here with CWW7 News. And for today's broadcast, I do have a breaking news report. The Jerusalem Post is reporting that at least 5 Syrians, including a soldier in the Syrian army, were killed in an alleged Israeli attack on the T4 airbase in the eastern Homs province on Sunday night, one day after clashes between the two foes. A military source was quoted by Syrian military as saying that regime air defenses confronted an Israeli aggression and destroyed 2 rockets targeting the T4 airport, adding that other Israeli rockets caused the death of 1 soldier and injured 2 others. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights later reported that at least 5 Syrians were killed, including a soldier in the Syrian army, as well as severe injuries were also reported, and that the number of fatalities may rise. An ammunition depot was destroyed in the strike, and there was material damage to other buildings. According to reports, multiple explosions were heard inside the airbase during the strike. It goes on further to report that Iran has been moving its assets from areas repeatedly struck by Israel to locations closer to the border with Iraq, specifically the T4 airbase. The strike came just hours after Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel would not tolerate missile attacks on its territory and would respond forcefully to any aggression against it. He said yesterday 2 missiles were fired towards Israel from Syrian territory. One struck inside Syria, and the other hit our territory on the Golan Heights. I held security consultations following the attack, and I ordered the IDF to take strong action, which it did, striking several targets. The Israeli Air Force struck several Syrian military positions in the southwestern Damascus, killing 7 foreign fighters and 3 Syrian armed force soldiers, and injuring 7 others in retaliation for the rockets fired earlier into northern Israel. The IDF confirmed that jets and attack helicopters struck a number of military targets in Syria in retaliation for the rocket fire, including 2 artillery batteries, a number of observation posts near the border, and an SA-2 air defense battery in retaliation for the rocket fire. The IDF stated that we struck a number of Syrian armed forces military targets. We hold the Syrian regime accountable and will firmly operate against any attempt to harm Israeli civilians. Meanwhile, the Times of Israel is reporting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Sunday warned Iran that Israel's airstrikes on Syria earlier in the day showed that when assaulted, the Jewish state hits back hard. Speaking at a ceremony for Jerusalem Day, when Israel marks the unification of Jerusalem during the 1967 Six-Day War, Netanyahu said that in the decades since the conflict, many moderate Arab states have sobered up regarding their attitudes towards Israel, which they now see as an ally against.
Now this is Isaiah 17 and 1, and it reads, "The burden of Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city, and it shall be a ruinous heap." Okay? And that's what's going on in Damascus, man. That's what Syria at. Syria, you got Damascus, Syria, man. Okay? The Lord say it shall be a ruinous heap, man. And then you got Netanyahu threatens Iran, citing overnight Israeli strikes in Syria, man. Okay, and he trying to blame Iran, man. So Iran is who? The Persians, man. Okay?
Iran. He said, while we do not make light of Iran's threats, neither are we deterred by them, because anyone who tries to hurt us will be hurt far worse. We have proven this many times in the history of our state, and we proved it just last night. Netanyahu stated that every year Iran transfers its protege, Hezbollah, $700 million, These enormous amounts are used to fuel the endless aggression by Iran and its satellites in our region. Our neighbors know this. All the Arab states know this. And that is one of the things bringing them to a renewed closeness with us. Those are definitely some fighting words coming out of Netanyahu. But the Times of Israel is also reporting. A senior official in the Trump administration says the United States has made it clear to Russia several times in recent months that America supports Israeli attacks in Syria as long as Iranian forces are operating in the country. The source was quoted as saying, "The U.S. told the Russians that Israel has America's complete support for attacking targets in Syria. We told Russia that all the Iranian forces should leave." And this is not only on Israeli demand, but also on American demand, according to Sunday's report.
So now they playing. So man, these Edomites over here, they don't even understand. They playing with real fire, man. Okay? Now you stirring up the Medes and Persia and Gog and Magog, man. You people don't understand what the hell you doing, man. Okay? Hey, you are stirring up a very big fire, man. Okay? I'm talking about a bonfire. A bonfire, man. I don't know if you ever seen a bonfire before, but they are stirring up a big bonfire, man. They don't understand what they are doing. This is the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. And they are stirring up a real big fire, man. Okay, the Lord got the spirit on them to raise up that old Soviet Union, that Cold War state, man. Okay? You're raising up Persia. They raising up Iran and Russia, man. You are, you waking up some giants, man. And they're going to destroy you North American Edomites. Y'all think it's a game, but this ain't no game, man. This is prophecy. That's what this is. Prophecy.
The United States officials said Israel had asked the United States to intervene with Russia regarding Moscow's commitment to keep pro-Iranian forces at least 70 to 100 kilometers away from the border, saying that Washington had raised the issue with the Russians in quiet diplomatic talks. So definitely a very tense situation. Are we on the cusp of Isaiah 17:1? There's been a lot of activity between Israel and Syria in recent months. But I will definitely continue to keep you updated. I just wanted to bring you this quick breaking news report today. Please do leave your comments in the...
Hey, it's coming, man. They playing games, but it's coming.
I'm creating my Wix site. You think you already have a
Salaki
website?
for this,
That's cool. You're welcome to skip.
Damn infomercial.
The US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said the US is ready to sit down with Iran for talks with no preconditions about its nuclear program. It appears to be a softening of rhetoric, though Mike Pompeo did add that the US would not shy away from confronting what he called Iranian aggression.
We're prepared to engage in a conversation with no preconditions. We're ready to sit down with them. But the American effort to fundamentally reverse the malign activity of this Islamic Republic, this revolutionary force, is going to continue.
But Iran has said relations have got to return to normal in order for there to be further dialogue, and both sides have been trading threats for weeks now. More now from our correspondent in the Iranian capital, Tehran, Zain Basravi.
Ever since the United States pulled out of the 2015 nuclear deal, it has widened what was already a sizable trust gap between Tehran and Washington. So the latest comments from U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo of talking to Iran with no preconditions, though a positive sign of a softer tone from Washington, was received here in Tehran by Iranian leaders with a great deal of suspicion. In a statement from Iran's foreign ministry, the spokesman Abbas Mousavi said, "For the Islamic Republic of Iran, wordplay and expressing a hidden agenda with new words is not the foundation for practical actions. For Iran, the basis is the United States altering its approach and practical behavior towards the nation of Iran." But Mr. Pompeo's emphasis on the continuation of maximum pressure on Iran shows it is the same long-running old approach that needs to be revised. So the message there is that for America, talk is cheap, but for Iran, economic sanctions have been costly, and continued economic pressure from those sanctions on the Iranian people is unlikely to set the stage or the mood for any kind of conversation.
It's not very likely, because talking is the continuation of the process of pressure. He is imposing pressure. This may work in a real estate market. It does not work in dealing with Iran. The last experience was not very optimistic and does not provide an optimistic perspective for a future agreement.
If we are to take a positive view of things, then both the United States and Iran have softened their rhetoric in recent weeks. Both sides have seemed to walk back from the brink of war. But Iran's leaders have said over and over again they will not negotiate a new nuclear deal with the White House of U.S. President Donald Trump. They will not compromise on their defensive capabilities. They don't want to talk about things like the ballistic missiles program. So what Iran's leaders will be asking themselves with regards to this latest offer from U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is, if they're not going to talk about those things and the United States is unwilling to move on its position of a maximum pressure campaign, then what is there left to discuss?
Listen, man. These Iranians, man, they don't want to hear nothing you Edomites got to talk about, man. Okay? What y'all don't understand is this is the work of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, man. This is Isaiah 13 and 17. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, for they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. No pity for nobody. Their eyes shall not spare children. And Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, which is North America, okay? The beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when God overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. So, man, listen. These Iranians don't want to hear that, man. Okay? Because the Lord got his spirit on these Iranians, man. This is Jeremiah 51 and verse 8. In verse 11. Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. The Lord Yahweh have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon. So the Iranians are against you, man. And the Russians are against you devils, man. Okay? It said, for the Lord have raised up the spirit of the kings of the Medes, for his devices against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of the Lord Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, the vengeance of his temple. Set up the standard upon the walls of Babylon, and watch strong. Make the watch strong. Set up the watchmen. Prepare the ambushes. Okay? From who? Many nations. For the Lord Yahweh have both devised and done that which he spake against the inhabitants of Babylon. Okay? He said, set up the ambushes. Jeremiah 59. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations, with an S, from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. The arrows shall be as a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Okay? This is playing out, man. Now, when you leave there and go to Ezekiel, the 38th chapter, Ezekiel 38 and 1, and the word of the Lord Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. Meaning their old ways of how they used to be, man. Okay? In the Soviet Union. And I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor. This talking about them intercontinental ballistic missiles, man. He telling Russia and all the other nations, Russia, Iran, to join together, assembly of great nations, and prepare the ambushes, man. It said, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy armies, horse and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even the great company with bucklers and shield, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmet. It say Gomer and all his bands, the house of Tagomia of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with them. So it said Persia, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. It said Gomer and Tagomia. So when you go to these nations, when you go to Persia, Libya, and Ethiopia, which I got I got a map on my phone to show you all these nations. So when you pull up Ezekiel 38, it give you all these nations. It say Russia is Magog, Iran is Persia, former Soviet Union is Meshach and Tubal, Eastern Europe is Gomer, Turkey is Tagomia, Sudan is Cush, and Libya is Put. So these are the nations that the Lord is calling to come up against North America and destroy them. So this is prophecy of the Lord. This is not a game. This is serious. So it's just another update showing you how these Iranians just said they ain't taking no deal with Trump. And Trump they said the only way they take a deal from North America, Trump got to be out of office, man. So that's showing you that the Lord got a spirit on them, like I just read. The Lord said, I will put my spirit on them and raise up the spirit of the Medes. So this war is coming, man. And you see that they're still over there bombing in Syria and Israel right now. So Lord's witness to edifying. Gonna give our praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Bahashim Kakadash, double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, who teach well, and a sincere salutation to all the Akim, pushing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth. And shalom to the Akwaf, which is you sisters who are listening and learning. Shalom.